Hello everyone, this is Rani M. Pradhan. Welcome to my class. In the previous class, we started the electrochemistry and we discussed about the construction and working of electrochemical cells. Now we are going to continue with the topic and we would learn a few more interesting facts about this type of cells. But before that, let's take a fast review on that so that we will continue with it. So in electrochemical cells, we know that these are the cells which convert the chemical energy into electrical energy. So they are the cells which generate the electric current. We have taken the example of Daniell cell here. So in this case, we know that for anode we take zinc rod and for cathode we take copper rod. So anode metal being higher in electrochemical series shows a tendency of getting oxidized, and that is why it is made anode. By convention, in electrochemical cells, we always write or represent anode on the left hand side while the cathode on the right hand side. Now you can see the zinc is dipped in zinc sulfate solution and is getting oxidized. This will leave electrons on the rod that makes the anode negatively charged, which is a different aspect, which is the difference between the electrochemical cells and the electrolytic cells, where the cathode is negatively charged. So anode in this case is negatively charged. While when we move towards right hand side and we can see the copper electrode is acting as cathode. Here the copper ions from the electrolyte are getting reduced, the reduction is taking place, and that is why we can see the size of cathode is also increasing while the size of anode gradually decreases because of the conversion of zinc to zinc ion and its dissolution in the electrolytic solution. Cathode in this case is positively charged. Hence you can see the electrons move from the anode to cathode, and hence the current flows from cathode to anode. We have taken a salt bridge. It is required to complete the circuit. We discussed it, and beside that we take some electrolyte in salt bridge in some gelatinous or porous material, and this helps in maintaining the electrical neutrality in these two half cells. In this case, the Cl ion will move towards this half cell, while in this case, the potassium ion will move towards this half cell to maintain the electrical neutrality. Now if you see, this is called oxidation half cell, while this is called reduction half cell. What is the reaction taking place in oxidation half cell? Obviously, the oxidation and reaction here is zinc is getting oxidized by losing the electrons, and what is the reaction taking place in reduction half cell is reduction of copper ion to copper metal. So if we combine these two half cell reactions, what would be the overall cell reaction? This is representing the overall redox reaction taking place in this particular cell. You can see zinc is getting oxidized and copper ions getting reduced. Now how do we represent such type of cell? We take a parallel line which indicates the salt bridge. Now on the right hand side of the salt bridge is the copper sulfate solution, which means the copper ions, while on the left hand side the salt bridge is connected to zinc sulfate solution, that is in zinc ion. Now in zinc ion, or in this cell, this electrolytic solution, the rod dipped is zinc metal, while in this solution the rod dipped is copper metal. So zinc metal dipped in zinc sulfate solution, copper rod dipped in copper sulfate solution. These two solutions are connected by a salt bridge. This is called the cell representation or cell notation, because we may not require this entire structure for all kinds of calculations. This representation is enough for us to understand what kind of cell is it and how it must be working, what would be the cell reaction for this particular cell, and how the electrons would be moving. As you can say, the electrons are flowing from zinc rod to copper rod, because the zinc rod is anode, this side is representing anode, this side is representing cathode. This is left hand side, as we just showed it here. This represents right hand side, which is showing the cathode, and this is representing anode. On right hand side, reduction is taking place. On left hand side, oxidation is taking place. This representation is called cell notation. Now we can make it more informative by adding the concentrations over here. We may write their concentrations in terms of C1 or C2, or maybe their concentrations are same. In generally, when we take it in the standard conditions, the concentrations are molar concentrations. 1 molar concentration is taken usually for both the solutions. So this is how we can represent the cell. Now let us take an example of another combination of metals, like we have taken zinc and copper. So if we take an example of another combination, for example, if we take a combination of copper and silver, what if we want to construct an electrochemical cell using these two metals? Now can you guess which of them is going to act as anode and which of them is going to act as cathode? We have discussed it earlier in detail. However, let's see what are their electrochemical positions, or what are their reactivities, relative reactivities. Now in this case, you can see copper is higher in electrochemical series as compared to the silver. Now we know the metal which is higher in electrochemical series is more electropositive and hence will show a tendency to get oxidized, while silver, being lower in electrochemical series, is less reactive, is less electropositive, hence shows lesser tendency to get oxidized, and hence it shows more tendency to get reduced. Now silver will, being less electropositive, will show a tendency to get reduced, and that is why when we construct a cell out of these two metals, what should be the cell? Like copper should be made anode in this case, while the silver will act as cathode in this case. So copper dipped in its solution, salt bridge, silver rod dipped in its solution. This is the cell notation that would be formed. This is the cell that would be formed by using these two metals. And what would be the cell reaction for this? Since copper is getting oxidized, copper is anode, what would be the anode half cell or oxidation half cell reaction for this? It would be copper getting oxidized to copper ion, losing electrons. What would be the reduction half cell reaction? Or cathode half cell reaction. In this case, the silver ion will get reduced to give you silver metal. Combining these two reactions, what would be the next cell reaction for this type of cell or this particular cell? It would be Cu plus 2 Ag ions will give Cu2 plus 2 Ag. This would be the cell reaction for this particular cell that we have taken the example, which is of copper and silver. So this is how we can take the combination of any two metals, and on the basis of their differential positions, different positions in relative positions in electrochemical series, we may decide which of them would act as anode and which of them would act as cathode, and from which we can write the cell notation, we can construct the cell. On the basis of it, we can find out what are the half reactions taking place, what are the in respective half cells, and what would be the overall cell reaction taking place. Now, two more important aspects or facts related to, these are very interesting facts related to this type of cells we are going to discuss. Number one, when we are talking about salt bridge and we are talking about the electrolyte in it, then this electrolyte, we prefer the electrolytes which have equal mobilities. We know these are providing ions, corresponding ions, the positive ion and the negative ion, which are necessary, and they move towards these half cells to maintain the electrical neutrality. Now, the electrolytes that we take should be those electrolytes. For example, we may take KCl, we may take KNO3, we may take let's say ammonium nitrate. So we usually take the electrolytes which have almost equal mobilities, so that their effect in both of the half cells is almost similar. Now, another very interesting fact that we are going to discuss here is, if we apply some opposing potential to this cell, if we add some opposing potential to this cell, then what is going to happen? Whenever you apply some opposing potential to the cell, what will happen? You keep on increasing this opposing potential gradually. How will it affect this particular cell? It will slow down the movement of electrons, since it is opposing in nature. It will slow down the movement of electrons, and hence the current flow will also get decreased. Now, when this opposing potential becomes equal to the potential of cell, or which we call EMF of the cell, when it becomes equal, then what would happen? The reaction would stop. We know that. So the reaction would stop, no more current would flow. But now if the opposing potential further increases, then what happens? So let's take these three examples if we conclude this fact. So let us take these three points. One we are taking, let's take this Daniell cell, and let's assume its EMF or potential of this cell is found to be 1.10 volts. Okay. Now, the first condition, when we apply the opposing potential, this is the external potential which is opposing in nature, and this is less than the EMF of cell. What would happen? The reaction will take place, the redox will still take place. Which redox will take place? Which is the spontaneous redox, which is already taking place. which means the electrons are flowing from zinc to copper, and the current is flowing from copper to zinc, right? Now the second condition is when this opposing external force is equal to this potential of cell, when it becomes equal to this, what will happen? No process or no reaction will take place, no electrons will flow, and no current will flow, right? Now the third condition is, which is interesting, that if this opposing external force becomes greater than the potential of cell itself, then what would happen? The reaction will start again, but what will happen? It would be the reverse reaction. And we can understand the reverse reaction will not be spontaneous, it would be a non-spontaneous chemical change now. Right? So, which means now the electrons will flow from copper to zinc. The electric current will flow from zinc to copper. This also shows, we can interpret one more thing from these cases. If a process is spontaneous, we know the delta G for this particular process should be negative. So when the external opposing force is less than this, or there is no opposing force, it is going to be a spontaneous redox reaction, and delta G for this would be negative. This indicates there is no reaction taking place, no flow of electrons, no flow of current. So delta G is 0. While when the process is non-spontaneous, it is causing reversing effect, reversing reactions. Delta G would be positive for this particular condition. I hope this would help you to understand all these aspects related to electrochemical cell. Now we would move in our next session, we would move to EMF of the electrochemical cells, and for that we would have to learn about electrode potentials. So that we will do in our next session. Keep watching, keep learning. Thank you.